Joining me now for a discussion of these developments, including weighing national security versus personal privacy, Cedric Leighton, a retired U.S. Air Force colonel and now president and founder of Cedric Leighton Associates, and Patrick Hedger, a policy analyst at the conservative group FreedomWorks. Gentlemen, welcome to both of you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Cedric, let me start with you. This is what one civil liberties group said today. This looks like the largest assault on privacy since the NSA wiretapped Americans in clear violation of the law under President Bush.
Well, I think that's a bit overblown, to be quite honest. The big issue here is this is the issue of data mining, how data mining actually works in the modern age. Now, should there be restrictions on it? Should there be other things that are done with it? That really is part of the discussion that needs to happen at this point in time. But to say that this is a concerted effort to spy against Americans, to actually go inside the internals of the communications is technically incorrect, and it's also a falsehood to say that they're spying on Americans just for the sake of doing it. There's an absolute reason for NSA to do these things. It is based on court orders, it is based on the legislative permission that they've gotten, and it's based on really the threat that the executive branch has perceived to exist since 9/11, and whether that's the Bush administration or the Obama administration.
Patrick, you buy that?
Well, I just look at the way that this nation was founded, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that's not a multiple choice question. I understand the concerns about safety, but we're not supposed... The great thing about America is there's this brave experiment in personal liberty and self-government, and that's exactly what we're being told that the terrorists are trying to tear down. So I am not sure that we need to concede or abandon the civil liberties that have defined this brave experiment that is America in the wake of acts of cowardice. Like I said, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, it's not a multiple choice question. Our government's job is to protect all of those things.
Here's a point there, Cedric. How can America now say we are a free society when this is going on?
Well, the difference is in what you do with the information. Other societies around the world have similar capabilities, similar tactics that they use.
But America sets the pace in the world, so it likes to tell the world all the time.
And it does. But here's what happens. When you look at what happens, for example, internal to NSA, when they get this kind of data, there's some very strict controls on how the data is disseminated, how the data is used, and actually how the data is destroyed. So there are very strict controls that are in place, and it becomes part of the overall fabric. It is done with congressional oversight, and it is done very, very carefully, and it is not done haphazardly. It is not done in a rogue fashion, but it is done with the intent to find people who mean us harm. And the idea is to do this in order to preserve life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Patrick, let me ask you this. We live in the age of what we are told is asymmetrical warfare, the kind of terror attacks that we've seen in the United States over here. The job of the government, the duty of the government, is to protect its citizens from these kinds of attacks. What's wrong with using these tactics to protect citizens?
Well, if the priority of our government was, in fact, to go above all odds and violate whatever rights they needed to protect American citizens, then we should just lock everybody up in a padded room and feed them applesauce for the rest of their lives. That's not the kind of lifestyle that we expect as Americans. This is a government of, by, and for the people. And you made a good point. When you look at these things in the NSA, there may be a good reason they're doing these things, but we can't look at these things in the NSA. In a government of, by, and for the people, we have to wait for a British newspaper to leak the story to us.
Well, and that's, you have to look at it this way. Perhaps it hasn't been explained the way it should have been explained to the American people or even to other members of the political leadership here. But the fact is that this was not a rogue operation. And, as far as the policies and procedures at NSA, I've lived under those procedures. I know what they are. And they're very strict. And it's not anything that people can do on their own.
Okay. Cedric, no matter what the explanation, if we look at what has happened here, the government has at its disposal these enormous resources to track and monitor what is going on. Yet none of that helped in preventing the Boston attack.
Well, and that shows the difficulty that you have when you're looking basically for a needle in a haystack. And every time you do this, it shows that there are always going to be gaps in the system. So no matter how pervasive your monitoring capabilities are, there's a lot that you're going to miss. And it shows that there's a challenge in the intelligence field to find those kinds of nuggets of information that really would lead to solving a Boston case.
Okay, let me give Patrick the last word in this. Is there an alternative?
I think the alternative is not to co-opt to the demands of people that are attacking us supposedly because of our freedoms. We're being attacked by people that are acting cowardly, but the great thing about America is that it's this brave experiment in personal liberty. America and personal liberty is not the rule, it's the exception to human history. So I don't think it's wise for us to really kind of cave to the demands of people that are supposedly attacking us for our freedom. And you brought up the needle in a haystack metaphor. It's 115 million phone records in Verizon alone, or people that are Verizon customers. That's a lot of pieces of hay, and we're not even sure how many needles there are in there.
Okay, John, we're going to have to leave it there. We've run out of time. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.